What's good? It's your boy Fanon. Going to talk about a couple things, and it's all right around the 135 pound, 140 pound, the 35 to 147 pound division. Mikey Garcia, Vasyl Lomachenko, Terence Crawford, and Jeff Horn. And some interesting things that came out today. Mikey Garcia's brother said that Mikey Garcia might be staying at 140 pounds now that the Lomachenko-Linares deal has been struck. And also, I'm going to talk about some of the stuff, the promotional deals that I've noticed going on with Terence Crawford and Jeff Horn, or the lack thereof. So, that's going to be the purpose of the video. Please, we're going to have a live stream about this later today at some point. And so the best way to know about that and participate real time in the live discussion of this subject and others is to hit the subscribe and the bell icon so you can be notified of when that's going to take place. And move it, like I've said in previous videos, that I'm trying to move, as many conversations as possible into the live stream to have real time conversations. So, with that, there's an article that came out. It said Mikey Garcia may remain at 140 pounds after Lomachenko-Linares deal. This past Saturday night in Texas, Mikey Garcia became the IBF junior welterweight champion with a 12-round unanimous decision over Sergey Lipinets at the Freeman Coliseum in San Antonio. Garcia is still the WBC world champion at the lightweight limit of 135 pounds. The now 4-division world champion is hoping to return to the lightweight division to pursue a unification with WBC world champion Jorge Linares, who also happens to be the WBC's mandatory challenger. But on Tuesday, it was revealed that Linares reached an agreement to defend his WBA belt against Vasyl Lomachenko on May 12th at Madison Square Garden in New York City. The bout will headline a card televised on ESPN. The recent turn of events may influence Garcia to remain at 140 pounds, according to his older brother and head trainer, Robert Garcia. The elder Garcia believes that there are a lot more opportunities at junior welterweight. Right now, it is most likely that he will remain at 140 pounds. It was his second fight at the weight, and he looked good. He took some risks on occasion, and he was hit, but we were surprised at just how well he did at the weight. I think at 140, he's very strong, and we'll see what happens, Robert Garcia told ESPN Deportes. On Saturday, Carol Relic was also crowned as a world champion, and this Saturday, Jose Ramirez and Amir Imam will win the WBC title, which is not true. The good thing is that there are possibilities, and we could even move up to welterweight if a good opportunity comes up. You know that Mikey likes those strong challenges. On Monday, the IBF gave Garcia a deadline of March 22nd to make a decision on their world title. If he plans to keep the IBF belt, the sanctioning body has already advised him that he needs to make a mandatory defense against Ivan Baranchyk, 18-0 with 11 KOs, who won a title eliminator last Friday with the TKO win over late replacement Petrov in Deadwood, South Dakota. Let me say this. If this is the case, and I know there's two people that on this channel that I get accused of hating on the most. And number one by far is Vasyl Lomachenko, and the second is probably Mikey Garcia. And I try to do my best not to criticize the fighters themselves, but I try to criticize, the things that go around them. Like Vasyl Lomachenko, I think Vasyl Lomachenko is a great fighter. That Mikey Garcia is a great fighter. My issue with Vasyl Lomachenko has always been the hype and the kind of the rhetoric that's used by the boxing media related to him, which I think that he needs to do more to deserve. And with Mikey Garcia, it's been that although I think the dude is a tremendous fighter, that it appears as if, if you look at him and hold him to the same type of standard as Danny Garcia, the former 140-pound title, I think a guy like Danny Garcia, who's called a cherry picker, by a lot of people, you can actually see occasions where Danny Garcia in the weight classes that he's been in, has taken on the toughest competition in that weight class. So with Danny Garcia, for example, at 140 pounds, Danny Garcia fought Lamont Peterson. He fought Amir Khan. He fought Matisse. Now, there's some fights that took place in between, like the Rod Salka, the Mauricio Herrera, where some people thought he lost, that, you could kind of, you have some things to say about. But at that weight class, 140 pounds, without a doubt, Danny Garcia fought some of the top guys in there, right? Same thing can be said about Terence Crawford at 140 pounds. When Terence Crawford's at 140 pounds, of the guys that were there, he fought Postal, he fought Diaz. I mean, he fought the guys that had the belts at that weight class. But when I look at Mikey Garcia, especially if it's true that he moves to 140 pounds, if you look at what he just did at 135 pounds, he fought there one time. He won a belt off of Zach Clannon, and I don't think anybody would argue that Zach Clannon is the top guy at 135 pounds. But he fought there. But now, if this what he's saying is true, and Vasyl Lomachenko is going to fight Jorge Linares, so either one or two things are going to happen. Either Jorge Linares is going to beat Vasyl Lomachenko, or a draw, right? Keep his title by beating him, or a draw, or Vasyl Lomachenko is going to win and get that belt. In either case, somebody's stock is going to go up at 135 pounds. But now Mikey Garcia, right after that's happening, is going to leave. And if you leave when Vasyl Lomachenko comes into the weight class and you never defended your title at 135 pounds, that looks shaky. That looks shaky. You can't say that you fought the best. You can say that you got a title at 135 pounds, but you can't say that you fought the best people at 135 pounds. You can't say it. Because he didn't fight Robert Easter, he didn't fight Jorge Linares, and if he leaves and it would seem like he left the weight class because Vasyl Lomachenko entered the weight class, then he looks like he's running from Vasyl Lomachenko. Now, I would hope that that's not the case. I don't believe that there's a reason for Mikey Garcia to run from Vasyl Lomachenko. But let's just be honest about what it's going to look like. An argument that is definitely going to be made, and it's going to be very, very hard not to make that argument. Because, yeah, there are challenges at 140 pounds. Right? He'll fight this cat. What's the guy's name again? They call him the Beast. I think they call him the Beast, but the person that's going to be the mandatory, forgive me. If he fought Relic, and he tries to fight the winner between Jose Ramirez and Amir Imam, and that's really not the winner between Jose Ramirez and Amir Imam has to fight, from my understanding, Regis Porgray, right? But I mean, it just doesn't look good, man. Ivan Baranachek, right? So he turns around, he fights Ivan Baranachek, 18-0 with 11 KOs, all right? It just doesn't look good. It looks very much like he decided that because he couldn't get a fight with Jorge Linares, that he was going to leave the division. Now, the fact that his mandatory is taken by Jorge Linares, like Jorge Linares is his mandatory, right? But his mandatory is defending the WBA title, then there shouldn't be and won't be available. Then I'm sure the WBC would allow him to take a voluntary. And that voluntary could allow him to do what he hasn't done at a weight class yet. And that's unified title. Right? And it makes it look as if because Vasyl Lomachenko moved up, then all of a sudden Mikey Garcia's desire to unify in a division goes away. Well, what's that about? Is it the guys that he'd have to unify against? Because it'd be difficult for him to get a fight with Ray Beltran for the WBO. The WBA is the only guy that he could unify with more than likely would be Robert Easter. But you can't tell me monetarily that defending against Baranchyk is going to make him more money than unifying at 135 pounds with Robert Easter. Robert Easter's a bigger draw than Baranchyk is. And if it's an easy fight, like people say it is, and you know how Robert Easter lost to this guy, lost to that, they believe he lost to this guy, believe he lost to that guy, then it should be an easy fight for him. To go down to 130, to stay down, and actually, you're right. That's correct. Move back down to 135 pounds where he holds a belt and unify the belt. He said he was just willing to do it for Jorge Linares. Well, why would he be willing to go down there to fight Jorge Linares, a guy that's been knocked out 3 times early in his career, but he's not willing to do it to unify for the IBF title? And the linchpin in it is the fact that Lomachenko came into the division. That just looks shady, man. Even though he did win a title at 140 pounds, right? So you got a 140 pound title, and he wins it against Sergey Lipin. It's a guy with 13 fights, right? It wasn't against. I guess that's probably the 135 pound, 140 pounder that was ready at that time, But hey, man, I'm just saying. And I don't mean to hate on Mikey. I know that people think that I hate on Mikey. I like Mikey Garcia. I think he's a tremendous fighter, but I definitely want to point out I'm trying to be consistent in the way that I'm viewing boxing. That people need to try to unify and figure out who the best in any one weight division is. And Mikey didn't prove that at 135. Yeah, he said there's not a lot of people that can move up those weights. Well, there's not a lot of people that have the money and have the ability and the promoter and able to allow them to do that. But still, there's also not a lot of people that unify divisions. And the 135 pound division it's there for him to do that. At least unify with one, at least it defends your title one time. Defend the title one time. You know what I mean? Floyd moved through 135 pounds real fast on his way up. But he defended some titles. At least defended. Mikey should at least defend the title one time. Unify the title one time at 135. If not, and then take the winner of Vasyl Lomachenko and Mikey Garcia. And then we're gonna know for sure who's the best. Is it gonna be, can Mikey Garcia beat Robert Easter, who he'd be favored against? If Linares beats Lomachenko, then Mikey Garcia could get the fight that he wanted to originally, and it would mean a lot more. If Lomachenko beats Jorge Linares, then Mikey Garcia is right there, or Easter's right there. And if you got to give some respect, Ray Beltran's right there. But they should try to unify it. As is, it looked like when you go through and like we talk about this 5 years from now, and you people start talking about resumes and dissecting resumes, it's not going to miss somebody that Mikey Garcia came out, had a 2-year layoff, came out, beat one guy at 135 pounds. Then he fought Vacating, who won that title, who had never defended the title before, who won the title off of a guy, Marani, who had never fought out of his home country before, and had never beaten a guy in his life who had less than 8 losses, right? And that's who Vacating won the title against. Vacating's best win was a split decision draw against perennial gatekeeper Ricky Burns. And that was a split decision against Ricky Burns. Mikey Garcia comes in and Mikey Garcia beats him and never again fights at lightweight. That's the game. That's just the boxing game. It's just like that's I don't know if you call it cherry picking or if you just call it, opportunism, or you call it resume building, whatever the case is. If you see what he's going to do at 135 pounds, and he was just talking about how he has 2 options at every weight class. At 135, at 140, and 147, he feels like he has options at all those weight classes. The option's still there. One of the options at 135 pounds. Two of the options are still there. You got two options if he wants to unify. Try to cut a deal to fight Ray Beltran with Aaron, which will be tough. Or try to, underneath your same organization that he fights with, he could fight Robert Easter. And then see if he can get the winner between the winner of Jorge Linares and Lomachenko. But if he doesn't do it, it just looks really bad, man. It looks bad. And there is no real big name right now at 140 pounds. There is no real big name at 140. There's not anybody there's nobody at 140 pounds that could give him, the greatness, the quote unquote greatness that he's looking forward more than if he beat Vasyl Lomachenko. Vasyl Lomachenko was saying he wants him. Vasyl Lomachenko said, I want Jorge Linares and I want Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia said, I want to go down there and fight Jorge Linares. So what's the problem? If you are willing to go back down there, you can't have Jorge Linares take Robert Easter. And if Robert Easter is the easy money like everybody says Robert Easter is, then that should be an easy unification for you and you become the WBC and the IBF champion. Should be easy money, right? Should be easy money, the way people hearing it. I don't believe it's easy money because Robert Easter ain't been easy money for anybody yet. But hey, maybe he's easy money. But if he doesn't take it, he looks like there can be an argument that's made that he's running from Vasyl Lomachenko. The Vasyl Lomachenko scared him to 140 pounds. And as people understand, man, I'm not one because of the nature of a lot of people that support Vasyl Lomachenko, the stuff around him. I'd say what I think about if you try to compare Vasyl Lomachenko to, Sugar Ray Robinson, you try to compare him to Roy Jones Jr., Andre Ward, right? James Toney, goes on and on. Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Carlos Monzon, all those type of guys. I will reject that comparison. I reject those comparisons because the guy hasn't done enough to do it. Hasn't done enough in his career to do it. But, to be compared that way. But at the same time, man, I'm gonna call it like I see it. And if Mikey Garcia stays up at 140 pounds and doesn't unify at 135 pounds, then it's gonna look like Mikey Garcia ran from Vasyl Lomachenko. Like the reason he didn't want to go down to 135 pounds, he didn't want to stay at 135 pounds is not because he couldn't get the Jorge Linares fight. It's because he didn't want to fight Vasyl Lomachenko or be put in a position where he has to fight Vasyl Lomachenko. Because maybe he doesn't think he can win that fight. And so what is it going to be? What's it going to be? There's a guy right there who says he wants you at 135 pounds that has a major belt. But if he chooses to stay at 140 pounds and fight a mandatory at 140 pounds, and then wait around to see if he can get either a Miri Imam, he can get a Miri Imam or Jose Ramirez, then, hey, man, it's just looking real shady. It looks real shady, man. It looks real shady. But it is what it is. The last part of this thing I wanted to talk about is Crawford and Horn. And, I'm not going to go too much longer in this video because that conversation took longer than I thought it would. But look, man, there's almost no marketing taking place for this fight with Jeff Horn, Terence Crawford, other than what Jeff Horn's team is doing. It's going to be interesting to see how this fight performs, man. But I think it's fair to say that that Terence Crawford is second fiddle. He's the pound for pound number one guy in the world by a lot of people, reasonable people, and he's second fiddle in his own promotional outfit. It seems as if Bob Arum made hell and high water, went through hell and high water to make this fight between Vasyl Lomachenko and Jorge Linares. And I've heard him talk more about that fight than I've heard him talk about Terence Crawford, Jeff Horn. And now that it's not on pay-per-view, it's going to be real interesting because the fight is not, they've come out with the judges, they've come out with a lot of information on the fight. They pretty much know about everything. It's like who the judges are, where it's going to be, when it's going to be, but it's not announced yet because Manny Pacquiao pulled out of the fight and isn't going to be on that pay-per-view card. So, anyway, we'll see what's going to go on with that, but it is what it is. And with that, I'm out. Peace.